And everybody's going to tell you there's so many memories there. The last 6 years have been just wonderful. She was a great place for us, and there was a lot of good things about the ballpark in recent years. The good teams that we had.
Obviously, that was a great building for all of us. Had some great memories in there, and sad to see it go, but it sure went down a lot quicker than it came up, that's for sure.
And a lot of good memories. A lot of good things happened to me. A lot of good things happened to the team there. A lot of history was made for the Atlanta Braves. So it's a little sad to see it go, but I think it'll make a fine parking lot.
It's a weird feeling, I have to say. I mean, it's just strange to see it all go like that at once. But, you know, I guess things move on. We got a new stadium now, so Turner Field's doing a great job for us, too.
For me, it looks kind of sad to see something that gives you a lot of memories, good memories, and turning down like this, you know, it's kind of sad to see it gone and never see it again.
Yeah, I had a box of stuff that I when I packed my locker up last year that I'd never gotten back yet. I had a bunch of motorcycle magazines and stuff like that. So if any of those workers in there find it, it's mine.
On the day Atlanta Fulton County Stadium came down, we welcome you to Pro Players Stadium in Florida. Game 3 in the series between the Atlanta Braves and the Florida Marlins. Hi, everybody. Pete Van Weren along with Joe Simpson welcoming you to Florida. A very historic day for Atlanta Braves fans. Kind of a sad day. The place that was the home of the Braves for 31 years witnessed everything from the sublime to the ridiculous, from World Series championships to ostrich races, is no more. But we have more important things to concern ourselves with now, Joe Simpson. The Braves having the fight of their lives right now against these Marlins.
The Marlins have won 5 of the 6 games played between these two teams, Pete, and the lead is down to 5.5 games. Nothing to panic about. But the thing that you expect to be dominant in this series has been pitching. But the team that's been most dominant with their pitching has been the Florida Marlins. Look how they have handled the Braves' bats. Only a .203 average. They're striking out an average of 9 per ball game, and even when the Braves do get some men on base, they're not able to come up with any big hits. They're hitting under 200 with men in scoring position, and it doesn't get any easier tonight. Al Leiter on the mound for the Marlins has been a mighty tough customer for the Braves. He's 2-0 against them in this ballpark, but the Braves will counter with a pretty good left-hander of their own, Denny Nagel.
Should be another good, maybe low-scoring game like we've had the first 2 in this series. We will see. Back with the lineups and all the action from Florida right after this.
Braves baseball on the Superstation is brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. By the 62,000 professionals at Delta Airlines, who proudly put you on top of the world. And by Kodak Premium Processing. Get the total picture package.
At 5th, he's back out in right field. Javi Lopez will bat 6th. The bottom third of the order has Ryan Klesko, Mark Lemke, and Denny Nagel. The Florida Marlins take the field. They expect another sellout crowd here at Pro Players Stadium. Here's the defensive alignment for the Marlins. Alou, White, and Sheffield from left to right. Bonilla, Renteria. Kurt Abbott will be the starter at second base tonight, and Jeff Conine at first base. Those are changes, the only changes defensively for the Marlins, with the exception, of course, of the pitcher, Al Leiter. 31 years old, 6'3", 220 out of Bayville, New Jersey. Originally in the New York Yankee organization. You can see by his numbers that he likes to pitch at home. He is 8-6 overall with a .431 ERA, 2-1 lifetime against the Braves, but 2-0 in this ballpark. His last start, a real strange one from him, a tough luck start, in fact. He got no decision against the Reds, but shut him out on 2 hits for 8 innings, and that was the game that Joe Oliver came through with a 3-run homer in the 9th inning to beat the Florida Marlins. And in those 8 innings against Cincinnati, Leiter walked 4 and struck out 11. He pitched a no-hitter, the first no-hitter in Marlins history last year. The Marlins have cut 2 games off the Braves lead in the National League East, and they have handled the Braves, as we have told you. In 6 games this year, they have won 5 in head-to-head competition. There's your umpiring quartet tonight. Tom Hallion, Ed Montague, Wally Bell, and Larry Vanover. Seemed like everybody was involved in some sort of controversy last night in one call or another, from one side or another. And we'll see if that carries over into tonight's ball game. I don't expect it to. One of the things, Pete, about tonight's start, the fact that the two left-handers are going, and that the Florida Marlins have handled left-handed pitching very well this year. They have a 17-13 overall record against lefties, but their batting average against left-handed pitchers, left-handed starters, higher than anybody else in the National League.
Yeah, they're very, very strong offensive team against left-handed pitching, and that could become a factor tonight. Also, some of the individual Marlin hitters match up very well individually against Denny Nagel throughout their careers. So we'll see how that all comes out. But we are set to get it underway. Kenny Lofton will lead it off here against Al Leiter. Lofton 1 for 5 last night, an 8-game hitting streak, 343 on the year with 3 homers and 34 RBIs. He did get caught in a rundown play between third and home, trying to take an extra base on a ball that the middle of the infield mishandled for the Marlins. Wound up being called out at home plate, and that was one of the turning points in last night's game. First pitch to Lofton tonight is up high, ball 1.
Good live fastball, cuts his fastball a little bit, does Leiter. Also mixes in an occasional slider and a changeup.
Next pitch on the way to Lofton, and it's taken high again, 2-0 the count. On occasion, Leiter will have control difficulties. And there's a strike, 2-1 the count now on Lofton. He'll be followed by Jeff Blauser and then Chipper Jones.
And he's walked 66 batters in 100 innings.
Here's the 2-1. Tried to stop his swing, but went around, says plate umpire Tom Hallion. The count 2-2.
Bottom line, regardless of what the Marlins hitters do against Denny Nagel, the Braves hitters have got to get it in gear.
Braves have only managed 9 hits in the first 2 games in this series. 3-2 the count now on Lofton.
Pretty close pitch here on the 2-2 delivery. A little high.
Fouls back the 3-2. Count remains full. And again, the 3-2 on the way to Lofton. Upstairs, ball 4. Braves get their leadoff man on to start the first inning. And that'll bring up Jeff Blauser.
To my recollection, Pete, Kenny Lofton has not attempted a stolen base since he came back from the disabled list. He drew a leadoff walk at home in one of his first games back, and that was in the first inning, and never attempted a stolen base. Let's see if he's feeling good enough tonight to put a little pressure on them defensively.
He has 20 on the year. He's been caught 13 times. And here's a guy who's trying to snap out of early his first slump of the year. Jeff Blauser, 0 for 6 last night, just 2 for his last 28. His average has taken about a 30-point hit in the last couple of weeks. Ball 1 high to Blauser.
Jeff's changed his swing a little bit in the 2-hole with Lofton coming back. He's tried to hit the ball to right field more, and I think that's hurt his swing, at least the swing he's had most of the year.
1 ball, 1 strike. Took a shot to right field there.
And he's not the only guy in the lineup that's been struggling of late. He's 2 for 28. A couple of guys there at the top. Graffinino not playing tonight, but Javi for his last 14. And those are some guys that had been, prior to these recent slumps, been swinging the bat very well.
1 ball, 1 strike on Blauser. He did not go, says Ed Montague. The count 2-1.
As you look at this and determine for yourself if he went around, and last night that was called a strike. Phil Sibbons tells me that Kenny did steal a base on the 30th of July against the Cubs. That Wednesday night game.
Here's the 2-1 delivery. Caught the inside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Jeff Blauser. And it's full now, 3-2. Sort of a strange feeling sitting in the hotel room today and turning on CNN and seeing the old ball yard come down.
I know it was especially tugging at your heartstrings, yours and Skip's. You've been associated with that park for so long.
I understand they had close to 30,000 spectators to witness that. Runner Kenny Lofton going. That'll keep the Braves out of a double play here. Blauser is thrown out, but Lofton advances. as Renteria throws out Jeff. And the batter will be Chipper Jones. Chipper 1 for 4 last night. His hitting streak is now an 8-game streak, hitting .308 for the year with 17 homers, 87 RBIs. But this has been the side of the plate that he has struggled from. .261 right-handed, .333 left-handed. All 17 of his home runs have come as a left-hand hitter. Still looking for that first right-handed long ball of the year.
He has hit one off of Leiter. He's 2 for 9 lifetime with a homer.
Runner at second, 1 down. 1 ball, no strikes on Chipper. Fred McGriff on deck.
If they had 30,000 folks down there, Pete, I hope they were all standing behind the yellow line.
I hope they were too. They had 27 separate explosive charges that went off to bring down that ballpark. Count is now 2-0 on Chipper Jones. We kid about the yellow line because that was the line that we all had to stand behind while waiting for the press elevator every night, and you dare not take even a half step across that line before those elevator doors opened. It is no longer. 3-0 the count.
There was always somebody to report you to the tunnel police if
Yes,
you did.
the tunnel police were on you if you stepped across the yellow line. 1 man out, runner at second. 3-0 the count on Chipper Jones. And there's a strike in the outside corner. 3-1. Lofton down at second. And the 3-1 is fouled away. 3-2. So Al Leiter has gone 3-2 on each of the first 3 hitters in this game.
And he's trying, even when he's behind in the count, trying to keep the ball in on Chipper so he can't get those arms extended. It doesn't appear that right-handed Chipper's able to turn on that ball, that inside pitch, as well as he does left-handed.
3-2 pitch on the way now to Chipper. Strike 3. No, he looked like he was about to ring him up. You saw Tom Hallion's right arm start to cock to call him out, but then he called it ball 4. Second walk of the inning.
Something else, Pete. Tom Hallion always rocks back on his heels a little bit as he's about to ring a guy up, and you'll see it happen tonight. He'll rock back on his heels just as he's about to do there, but he didn't throw up the right hand, and a surprise to me that he didn't.
So 2 walks in the inning from Leiter. It'll bring up Fred McGriff, hitting .287, 15 home runs and 63 runs driven in. He's 3 for 9 lifetime off the left-hander. Chipper Jones at first, Kenny Lofton down at second, 1 man out. Foul back by McGriff. 0-1.
Good swing, too. Right on that fastball. Left-handers hitting .200 with no homers against Leiter. Right-handers .247 and 9 homers.
Strike 2 call. 0-2 the count on McGriff. There are your runners. Chipper at first, Kenny Lofton at second. And the 0-2 now to Fred McGriff. Inside corner, strike 3 called. McGriff caught looking. First strikeout for Leiter. Out number 2 here in the top of the first. It'll bring up Andrew Jones.
Fred was going to make sure he had the outside part of the plate covered and really blocked himself a little bit on this inside pitch. Pretty good pitch by Leiter. Fred didn't think much of it, but he had made sure he was going to cover the outside half.
Now Andrew Jones getting the start in right field tonight, batting .260 on the year with 12 homers. He was 1 for 1 in last night's game. He takes a strike. 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch on the way. Foul back, 0-2. Talking with Pat Corrales after the game last night, one of the things Pat was saying is really been impressive about Andrew this year. Sure, he has a lot of natural ability, but whenever he has a little bit of a batting slump that he goes into, as he has of late, he is always asking, can he come out early? Take some extra hitting. Somebody be out there to throw to me. He came out to the ballpark yesterday, 2:30. Take some extra batting practice, trying to get his swing adjusted. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He's very competitive. You know, he's not one to go through a couple of good weeks and get complacent. So talented, and he's not afraid to work to keep it at a high level.
Been a lengthy inning for Leiter. A lot of pitches thrown, but a chance to get out of it here. First and second, 2 outs, and a 1-2 pitch to Andrew. Up and in, ball 2, 2-2. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way, struck him out. Up and in, gets his second strikeout of the inning. And the Braves strand 2 in the top of the first. Marlins coming to bat. No score.
Jim Leyland only made a couple of changes to his lineup tonight with the left-hander starting. Plug in Jeff Conine in the 6th spot at first base. Kurt Abbott will get the in the same spot for the Braves defensively. Andrew Jones gets the start in right field. Chipper Jones, Plowser, Lemke, and McGriff the same on the infield. Behind the plate, Javi Lopez, and on the mound, Denny Nagel will make his 24th start of the year. And talk about consistent. 14-2 on the year, and his ERA even better over his last 11 starts. He made a start against the Marlins back on May 14th. Got no decision. The Braves lost that game 4-3. He pitched pretty well. Gave up only 2 runs in 6 innings, no walks, 2 strikeouts in his last start. In my view, Pete, the best start as a Brave. He beat the Cubs 6-0. A 3-hit shutout, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He's on a roll.
He's 2-4 lifetime against the Marlins. Devon White leads it off. And takes ball 1 outside. Nagel's high water mark in wins last year. He won 16 games combined for the Pirates and Braves. 14 wins already this year. And he's made no secret about it that when you get 14 wins at this stage of the season, you start thinking about a 20-win season. And that is definitely Denny's goal for the remainder of the 97 campaign. 2-0 the count on Devon White.
Of course, Jim Leyland very familiar with Denny Nagel, how he likes to pitch.
Here's the 2-0 on the outside corner. 2 balls and a strike now on Devon White.
Denny's fastball was a very good weapon for him early in that ball game against the Cubs. He established it, was not afraid to pitch inside with it.
Now the 2-1 delivery is popped up. Shallow right field. Lemke drifting back. Andrew Jones coming on. Lemke stays with it. Makes the catch. 1 down. And that'll bring up Edgar Renteria. In fact, Joe, when you think back to last year, when back to the end of August when the Braves made that trade to get Denny Nagel, it was about that time that Jim Leyland began seriously talking about perhaps it was time for him to move on because the Pirates continued to tear down the higher priced players and go with the youngsters. And he really felt that maybe it was time for him to move on to a situation where he'd have a more competitive team, although the Pirates have done very well, better than expected, with their very low payroll team this year. Strike to Renteria on the outside corner, 0-1.
Well, I heard him talking the other night that Gene Lamont was the ideal person to bring in that situation to run that ball club, and he said, and is doing a much better job than I could have ever done.
In the air, fairly deep left center field. Lofton is there. He's got it 2 down. Renteria retired. That'll bring up Gary Sheffield. Sheffield comes in at 243 with 13 homers and 45 runs driven in. He had a big home run here last night.
Great headline in one of the papers today. It said, Chef and Cook burn the Braves.
And that's about the way it went. The long ball by Gary Sheffield. The pinch hit single by relief pitcher Dennis Cook to win the game. Ball 1 low to Sheffield. Anytime you hear hitting coaches or managers or anybody in baseball talking about bat speed, hitters with great bat speed, this guy's name always comes up first.
Just had to see that home run he hit off Maddox last night to understand why. That was a blink of an eye swing he took last night. Take a look at this. Watch the head of the bat, how quick it gets through there.
I mean, that is moving. 2 balls, no strikes. That almost looked like it was sped up. It was not.
No.
That was real speed. Now a 2-0 pitch on the way from Denny Nagel. There's a liner down the left field line, but foul. And the count goes to 2-1.
He is so strong from his elbows down, boy, with those hands and wrists, the way he waves that bat back and forth.
That looks like a toothpick in his hand, doesn't it? 2-1 the count. Got under this one. Foul territory, third base side. Chipper Jones giving it a look over there, but will not have enough room. Up into the crowd. Another sellout crowd expected here tonight at Pro Players Stadium. The count even on Sheffield, 2-2. It's turned out to be a nice night. We did have some rain move in late this afternoon. Came through a pretty heavy shower on our way to the ballpark. And another one hit here about an hour before game time, but it's cleared off nicely now. On the ground, foul down the left field line. Still 2-2 on Sheffield.
Chipper Jones plays Sheffield like you would play a hitter late in the ball game guarding a 1-run lead. He guards the line. Blauser plays him to pull on the left side too. I can't think of another hitter the Braves play this way.
Here's the 2-2. Missed inside, full count, 3-2. Now that's about as exaggerated a shift in the infield on the left side that you'll ever see at this stage of a game.
Yeah, they overshift on Bonds to the right side. But for a right-handed hitter, that's pretty drastic for Atlanta.
Now a 3-2 pitch on the way to Gary Sheffield. And it's up the middle. Into left center field. Kenny Lofton will get it back to the infield. There was a case where Jeff Blauser had Sheffield shaded a little too much toward third. He's playing a normal shortstop, and ball is probably hit right to him.
Yeah, the only guy that had a play on this was Wally Bell. He had to do some fast dancing to get out of the way. And had it not been for the fact that Gary Sheffield is nursing a bad hamstring, he might have tried for 2 there too.
Sheffield aboard with 2 outs for Bobby Bonilla, hitting .311 with 11 home runs and 64 RBIs. He's 2 out of 8 in the series. He is 8 for 19 with a couple of home runs lifetime against Nagel. Fouls away the first one, 0-1.
And hitting .405 against left-handed pitching.
That is tops in the National League. Little check swing, winds up being a base hit into right field. Sheffield heads for third, and runners will be at the corners on an excuse-me swing, base hit to right by Bobby Bonilla.
He didn't even get the bat fully extended on the excuse-me. He just dropped the head of the bat down and tried to stop it on the breaking ball. Not exactly the way you draw it up, but a thing of beauty tonight, at least for Bonilla, and some trouble for Nagel. Sheffield going first to third, but still not running too well.
Now Moises Alou comes in at .289, 14 home runs, 78 RBIs, and a hot hitter of late. And an 8-game hitting streak snapped here last night.
He was hot last night, Pete. He just not with the bat.
And he didn't make it all the way through last night's contest. He got ejected after arguing a third strike in the 8th inning.
Tom Hallion had called a swing on him on an appeal play to first, and he pointed to his eyes as if to indicate that Mr. Hallion couldn't see too well.
2-0 the count. Alou, one of the high-ticket free agent signees by the Marlins. An $89 million payroll on this ball club. They have really gone out and spent money to try to win a championship. And the first thing they've got to worry about right now is trying to catch the Braves. They're within 5.5 now of Atlanta. Here's the 2-0. Missed outside low, 3-0.
You saw those RBIs against left-handers. He's second only to Vinny Castilla in slugging percentage against left-handed pitching too. 701.
2 men out, runners first and third, and a count of 3-0 on Alou. Fouled off the 3-0 pitch, 3-1.
So we've said all this about what they've done to left-handed pitching, and you wonder, well, then why isn't their record better, or why did they come into this series 7.5 back of Atlanta? Well, the fact is they have faced fewer left-handed pitchers than anybody in the National League, so they haven't been able to take it as much advantage of it as they would like.
Here's the 3-1 on the way, and he walks him, and that loads the bases. So Nagel in some hot water here in the bottom half of the first inning. Leiter was in some trouble in the top half, got out of it. Now Nagel has the bases loaded, 2 outs for Jeff Conine.
In his last 5 starts, Denny has alternated 0 walks, 2 walks each game, and did not walk any against the Cubs on the 28th.
Conine comes in having an off year, 240 with 9 homers and 39 RBIs. And he is one that has not hit left-handed pitching well this year. Only 225 for the year against southpaws. Hits the first pitch high in the air, shallow right center field. Andruw Jones there for the catch, and Nagel gets out of it. The Marlins strand 3 in the bottom of the first. Still no score.
Club is prohibited.
Javi Lopez leads off the second, down to 299 for the year now with 16 homers, 46 RBIs, 0 for his last 14. And takes the first out. Leiter pitch up high, ball 1. If you saw our open, you saw a lot of players who had been around this ball club for a few years commenting on Atlanta Fulton County Stadium going down today. I think of all the players, I think Javi really felt quite emotional about it.
Well, a lot of them played their first big league game in Atlanta. Javi's one of them.
Drills this pitch deep left field. Alou is not even going to turn around. Home run, Lopez. And the Braves take a 1-0 lead. Home run number 17 of the season for Lopez, his 47th RBI. And the Braves jump on top.
Leiter fell behind another hitter and had to groove a pitch, and Lopez was ready. Fastball a little above the belt, and it was belted. And that'll snap out of an 0-for streak in a hurry.
Now Ryan Klesko batting .257, 18 home runs. And he takes a strike in the outside corner. Popped up. Shallow center. Devon White calls off Renteria, makes the catch, 1 down. And now Mark Lemke.
That home run by Javi, Pete, just the third the Braves have hit against the Marlins this year, and Fred McGriff hit the other 2.
Well, there's no question that their pitching has stepped it up. They've got a good staff to begin with, and they have really pitched well against Atlanta this year. 5-1 in the first 6 games played between these 2 teams. Here's Lemke, 243, a couple of home runs, and 23 RBIs. And he takes a strike, 0-1. Nothing in 2. The count on Lemke.
Back to Javi in the ballpark. I think there's a lot of guys that are pretty sentimental about it that probably would not want you to know that about the stadium being brought down today.
1-2. Take it inside, ball 2, 2-2. Another full count. He had full counts on 3 hitters in the first inning. Now he's gone to 3-2 on Lemke with 1 out here in the second.
Mark's averaged 50 points higher right-handed, but the last 2 lefties the Braves have faced, he's been given a game off.
Sharply hit. Renteria fields the high hop. Lemke retired, 2 down. And that'll bring up Denny Nagel. Not having a bad year at the plate. 196, just under 200. He's driven in 6 runs.
I believe that's the most RBIs among the pitchers.
Yeah, it is. He's got 6. Tom Glavine 5. Greg Maddux 4. John Smoltz 3. Outside corner 0-1. Maybe the ultimate irony today with the demolition of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. It comes one day before a man who spent 17 years of his major league career pitching in that ballpark goes into the Hall of Fame. Phil Niekro.
It is somewhat ironic.
Who will be inducted at Cooperstown tomorrow. Wish we could be there. Off the end of the bat by Nagel. Renteria throws him out. That's out number 3 here in the top of the second. But a leadoff home run by Javi Lopez has the Braves on the board. 1-0 Atlanta. We head to the bottom half of inning 2.
Joey Hamilton won again yesterday for the San Diego Padres. He's on a roll.
1-0 Atlanta as we go to the bottom of the second. Charles Johnson leads it off. Up to 261 for the year now with 12 homers. 2 out of 8 in the series, and takes a strike from Nagel. 0-1.
His wife Rhonda sang the national anthem
and
tonight.
did a great job. Up and in. 1 ball, 1 strike.
What a day tomorrow for Phil Niekro. I'm so happy for him, and I know you are, Pete. Very proud of the riders finally coming to their senses.
Here's the 1-1. Yeah, that will be quite a day, not only for Knucksy and all his family and friends who I know are up there, but also for Tommy Lasorda and the late Nellie Fox. His family's all going to be up there. 3-1 the count on Charles Johnson.
And a very good infielder from the Negro Leagues, Willie Wells. Man, oh man, did he have some big numbers.
Here's the 3-1 pitch now to Johnson. Came up empty on the changeup. 3-2.
Yeah, but like we were talking during the break, there's going to be a little polka music and a little pasta going on tonight.
And some kielbasa, I'm sure, is going to be served up in Cooperstown tonight. Here's the 3-2 pitch on the way, and it's fouled back. Still a 3-2 count on Charles Johnson.
The last I heard, Knucksy had busloads of people going up from Georgia and coming over from Ohio. He had big crowds coming. That's great.
3-2 pitch. Struck him out. Johnson down in strikes. First strikeout for Nagel. 1 gone. Bottom of the second.
Threw some pretty good breaking balls to Johnson. That was not one of them. That looked like a changeup. Had him reaching for it.
That'll bring up second baseman Kurt Abbott, hitting .281 for the year with 6 homers. Nothing in 1.
Abbott not only has hit lefties well, he's hitting .371 against them, but he's been a thorn in the side of the Braves too. 5 for 9 against Braves pitchers this year, including that flare hit last night that was instrumental in that rally in the 8th.
Here's the 0-1 on the way from Nagel, and the changeup is fouled back to count 0-2. This guy is a good player and can't seem to nail down an everyday job with this ball club. He was at shortstop for first couple of years with the Marlins. When Luis Castillo was sent back to the minor leagues earlier this year, he took over at second base for a while. Now he's sharing that position again with Craig Counsell. He just can't seem to nail down a spot and keep it. Up and in, a ball and 2 strikes.
He's not a whole lot unlike Brett Boone in a way. He's very strong. He likes to hit long balls. Sometimes has been slow to make some adjustments at the plate because he likes to hit the fastball and likes to hit it out of the park.
Here's the 1-2 now from Nagel. It's sliced foul off to the right, still 1-2.
But a solid player.
He even got sent back to AAA last year for about a 3-week period. There's a fly ball, a little bit off the handle, shallow left field. Klesko, long run for it, makes the catch, dug up some turf.
I'm not sure that he had to slide for it, but I am glad he caught it. We'll have to watch here. I think Ryan knew once he caught it too that he didn't have to go to his knees, but it's an out nonetheless.
And now the pitcher, Al Leiter. Leiter is 3 out of 33 this year. 15 strikeouts in those 33 at bats. This is not the strong part of his game. One ball, one strike.
Trying to say that there is room for improvement.
There is. Fouled away, 1-2, although the swing has gotten a little better. Getting just under 100 lifetime with a lot of strikeouts. Two and two. And there's another strikeout for Nagel, another strikeout for Leiter, and a 1-2-3 inning for the Marlins in the bottom of the second. We've played 2 in Florida with the Braves on top, 1-0.
Called up and hit his first big league homer in a losing cause. Houston shut out New York behind Hampton, who won his 9th game of the year. St. Louis 2-1 over Philadelphia. Cubbies snapped their 9-game losing streak. Ryne Sandberg, who announced his retirement again at the end of this season, hit 2 homers. Over in the American League, Kansas City a winner over Boston. Minnesota beat New York 5-4. Baltimore clobbered Oakland 13-3. Toronto and Detroit just underway, no score. Seattle at Milwaukee, Cleveland at Texas, Chicago at Anaheim a little later.
And we go to the top of the third. Braves leading at 1-0. Kenny Lofton, who walked in the first inning, leads off here in the third and takes a strike outside corner, 0-1. The only run of the game, a Javi Lopez home run. One ball, one strike.
Jesse Orosco pitching for Baltimore today out of the pen, recorded his 1,000th career strikeout. That's pretty good for a relief pitcher.
Outstanding. Here's the 1-1. 1 ball, 2 strikes, and Lofton. Lofton 5 out of 16 lifetime against Leiter over in the American League, so he's hit him pretty well in the past. Not this time. Third strikeout of the game for Leiter. 1 gone in the third.
A little crossfire fastball from the first base side of the rubber. Caught the outside corner. A better start for Leiter this inning than he has had in the first 2.
Now Jeff Blauser grounded out to short in that first inning. Almost all of these players at the major league level, especially, you can look back in their careers early on and they'll have some outstanding numbers in high school or college. But Leiter had a game in high school that may be one of the best ever pitched at the high school level back in New Jersey. 2-0 the count. It was a scoreless tie called at the end of 14 innings. And in those 14 innings, he struck out 32. Two and 1 the count.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's not a bad day.
Didn't he get his picture in the
Yeah, he was in Sports Illustrated, those little faces in the crowd shots where they salute some of the amateur athletes from all around the world. Usually it's little league, high school players, tennis, golfers. 32 strikeouts in 14 innings in one game. Fouled off, the count 3-2. That same year he pitched 4 no-hitters. Not a bad year.
That'll get you drafted generally.
That usually will do it.
And he was in the second round by the Yankees.
Three and two, another 3-2 count. The correction, it was 2-2. Now it's 3-2.
Never a question about Leiter's arm, just a question of how healthy it was. And there were times where he missed a lot of playing time.
On the ground to third, Bobby Bonilla guns it across to first. Plowser retired, 2 gone. And that'll bring up Chipper Jones, who drew a walk back in the first inning.
Jeff can't guide it. All he can do is try to hit it hard and hope it finds a hole. He's already had a couple of plays in this series where he's lined out to people or hit the ball sharply, as he did there to Bonilla, only to have it hit right at somebody.
Leiter trying for his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. Ahead in the count, 0-1 on Chipper Jones.
I think there's about 30,000 folks here that are booing Chipper, but they all show up at the hotel wanting his autograph as soon as the game's over. It's amazing.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, he may be entering that phase of his career when you go into an opposing city and you're one of the stars of the ball club. You know how it is when teams, especially in your own division, trying to catch it, they like to pick out one guy usually. It was going to be the villain. And Chipper is becoming that guy because of his offensive consistency. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Out of play, 1-2.
This is his home state. They don't seem to care.
Yeah, and it's not true in a lot of other ballparks, but for some reason these Marlins fans seem to have targeted Chipper. 2 men out, bases empty. The 1-2 on the way, and it's low and inside, 2-2.
And again, they're trying to keep the ball in on him.
Here's the 2-2. He's out of there on strikes. That's strikeout number 4 for Leiter. And a 1-2-3 inning. Still 1-0. We go to the bottom of the third. Now here at Pro Players Stadium, the Braves on top 1-0 in the top of the order due up. Devon White, Edgar Renteria, and Gary Sheffield. White will lead it off. He popped to second his first time up. The numbers down for Devon this year. He's been out of the lineup a lot with injuries. Playing in just his 30th game of the season tonight. Fly ball right. Andrew Jones there for the catch, 1 down. Lights may have given Andrew just a tad of a problem there toward the end.
Now remember, this is a football stadium that was reconfigured for baseball, and sometimes these lights get in your way that are set up for what would normally be the end zone.
Now Edgar Renteria fly to center his first time up. Breaking ball in for a strike, 0-1.
This is a fabulous facility, and I would bet for a football game you'd be hard-pressed to find a better place to watch a game outside.
Going to ask a question about this place after this pitch. And it's fouled back, the count 0-2. When we walk into the ballpark after getting off the bus or out of the cab, however we get here every day, you walk past the Dolphins clubhouse on your way to the press elevator. Have you walked past the Dolphins clubhouse yet without thinking about some of those great Dolphin teams that were housed in there? You can't help it.
No, you can't.
You walk by there and you say, man, that's where all those great teams coached by Don Shula, that's where they were, right there. Foul back, still 0-2.
He was here last night, or was it 2 nights ago?
2 nights ago, threw out the first ball.
And then went to Indianapolis last night, that's what it was, and had his number retired by the Indianapolis Colts. Thought that was a nice move.
The 0-2. Rolled slowly towards short. Blauser charges, fields, throws, gets him. 2 down. And the batter will be Gary Sheffield. Sheffield had a base hit in the first inning. The Marlins loaded the bases after 2 were out in the first, but Nagel got out of it by getting Jeff Conine to fly out to shallow right center. All 3 runners were stranded. Field line, fair or foul, foul. Another rifle shot off Sheffield's bat. But nothing but a loud strike, 0-1.
When you're that quick, sometimes it's hard to keep them fair. Listen to the sound. That's solid, folks. That is right on the sweet spot.
The 0-1. That's a fair ball into left field. And Sheffield is 2 for 2. That's the 3rd hit off of Nagel. And the batter will be Bobby Bonilla. He had a check swing base hit his first time up.
Pete, when the guy like Sheffield hits a ball this hard as an outfielder, you're very happy that it rained right before the game, or else you could get handcuffed on some line drives in the outfield by this guy.
Hit a ball like that on turf.
Well, you just start running backwards.
Yeah.
Hope that the flames die down before it gets to you.
Ooh, almost threw that one away. Sheffield, as we mentioned earlier, still not 100% with that hamstring. Only has 8 stolen bases this year. Two men out, runner at first. We're in the bottom of the 3rd. Braves leading at 1-0.
The thing about his hits tonight, they both come with 2 outs, and as long as they stay in the ballpark, you can live with that.
Just off the corner, 1 ball, no strikes on Bonilla.
Then he made the good pitch on him first time up, and he had that little check swing hit. Let's see if he goes back to that change-up or breaking ball. They're holding Sheff close, but I don't think, and he's 8 out of 14 in stolen bases, but with that hamstring, I'd be very surprised to see Jim Leyland send him.
Two and nothing the count. Bonilla had one of the more intriguing entries into professional baseball. He's from a military family. Family was stationed over in Europe. And he was spotted by Sid Thrift, who at that time was running the Pittsburgh Pirates, at a baseball clinic in Europe. Signed as a non-drafted free agent in 1981.
Got traded several times while he was still in the minor leagues,
Yeah.
too.
First to the White Sox, then back to the Pirates. Count 3-0.
Alou was swinging 3-0 in the first inning. Let's see if Bonilla's got a green light.
Taking all the way, and it's ball 4. Runners first and second this inning, going just along the lines of the first inning when Nagel got the first 2 outs, then loaded the bases. Now he's got 2 outs. Runners first and second for Alou, who walked in the first.
Somebody must have said something, because Tom Hallion's head snapped around the Braves dugout, and Bonilla very slow to head to first base. I think he was a little surprised that this was ball 4. Let's take a look. That was a darn good pitch. Change up, and it wasn't low.
First and second, 2 outs. One ball, no strikes on Alou. 1-0. And that missed a little bit low. 2-0 the count. He's not missing by much.
No, but with these guys in the middle of their order with their thunder bats, he's trying to get ahead with off-speed stuff, and he's not able to. And then when he's got to come in with a fastball, it's a little tougher. And Sheffield touched one up to left field. His fastball was his most effective weapon against the Cubs.
Here's the 2-0. Ball 3-0. Nagel in danger of loading him up again.
3 straight off-speed pitches.
Bonilla at first, Sheffield at second, 2 outs.
Another 3-0 opportunity. He fouled one off first inning.
And he fouls one off here. The count 3-1. Kevin Millwood goes for the Braves tomorrow afternoon against Alex Fernandez in the final game of this series. Marlins come to Atlanta next Friday to open up a 4-game set, and those will be the final 4 meetings of the year between these two teams.
No knob of the bat showing in that left hand.
Outside corner, and the count full now, 3-2, and the runners will be on the move here.
Well, that looked like a perfect pitch. Alou didn't think so. Right on the outside corner.
Bonilla will take off from first, Sheffield from second. And the 3-2 on the way to Alou. Line right at Chipper Jones for out number 3. Nago gets out of it, stranding 2 this time. We've played 3 at Pro Player Stadium. Braves lead it 1-0. First pitcher to win an All-Star game, a Championship Series game, and a World Series game in the same season. None other than our partner Don Sutton back in 1977. And hopefully, Joe, next year we'll be talking about tomorrow's Cooperstown induction and including his name in there.
It's all very candid around here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Nuxie this year, Don next year, and all will be right with the world. Bottom of the 4th inning, Jeff Conine, Charles Johnson, and Kurt Abbott. Conine fly to right his first time up with the bases loaded and 2 out. Comes up empty, 0-1. Another one of our favorites, Sue Lancaster, works in the marketing department for the Braves, having a big gathering at her house in Atlanta. Her parents, Sam and Helen Brinker, are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. Congratulations. Foul ball into the Braves bullpen, 0-2. 6 children, 14 grandchildren. That's quite a gathering. Sue's probably making them clean out horse stalls. The 0-2 to Conine is high. Braves only have the 1 hit, the home run by Javi. Florida has 3 hits, but no runs so far. They have stranded 5 runners. Change up and a beauty. Strikeout number 3 for Nagel, and a good start to the 4th inning for him.
Funny looking swing here. The count 1-2. Pitch off speed. Conine trying to stay back and then trying to compensate with a quick swing after he'd already taken that stride.
That's one of those you give up on it type strides and then realize you're in big trouble and then there's nothing you can do about it. Charles Johnson struck out his first time up. He's 2 for 9 in this series with a double. Had that double leading off the 12th inning last night that got their game-winning rally started. Good pitch on the corner. There's a good fastball. 1-1. Two and 1. That game today at Chicago. First the fly ball to right, Andrew up a little bit, but he's got room. 2 down. Not only did it snap the Cubs' losing streak, which was the longest in the majors at 9, but it also snapped the Dodgers' 7-game winning streak. The Milwaukee Brewers have the longest winning streak going right now. They've won 9 in a row and host the Mariners tonight. Seattle will be pitching Jeff Passero.
Seattle's fallen into second place, a half game behind Anaheim in the West, and Milwaukee is just 2.5 back of Cleveland now in the AL Central.
Abbott flied to left his first time up, fouls that one off of Tom Hallion. Tom's going to have to walk that one off. Boy, look where he was positioned, though. Got Javi's mask and then got Hallion. Oh, I see. Javi moved out to an outside target.
Yeah, not much protection when Javi gets way out there. Gets way out there for the plate umpire.
Oh, and 1 the count. And Nagel trying to have a 1-2-3 inning, gets ahead 0-2. Breaking ball just missed outside. Nagel has been given a lot of run support. I mean, his record's 14-2 and his ERA 3.15, and that speaks volumes about the way he has pitched. But the Braves have also averaged 5, almost 6 runs a game for him. In the air to short, and Blauser out on the grass makes the catch, and an easy 1-2-3 inning for Denny Nagel. The Marlins go in order, and we've completed 4 innings here in South Florida, and the Braves are on top 1-0. About that number here today. Ryan Klesko flied to center his first time up. Bottom third of the order for the Braves. Klesko, Lemke, and Nagel. Breaking ball misses. 1-0.
Should say something about Pro Player Stadium. This is an 80,000 seat football stadium, and some of the seats configuration make it impossible to see the baseball diamond, so a lot of the seats are blocked off. So if you see those empty sections up in the outfield, that is not part of the available seating for baseball here at this ballpark. You sit up there, you wouldn't be able to see half the field.
A wave and a miss. 1-1.
So when we say it's sold out, and you say, well, what about all those empty spaces out there in the outfield? That's why they cut it about in half for baseball, about 41,000.
Got some seats that accordion back out in left field behind the scoreboard. 2-1. Those all slide out and turn it into a nice bowl. 2-2. All the teams out west lost today, but the San Diego Padres have yet to play, and Klesko splits the gap. It'll roll to the fence. And Ryan's going to try for 3. Had a little trouble out there. Ozahu was going to pick it up, and Ryan's got a triple. Alou looked like he was going to get it, and then he just kind of stepped over the baseball, and Devon White had to pick it up.
And very alertly, Ryan Klesko picked that up and was able to take advantage and pick up an extra base. He had the double, no question there. But the triple only came about because of the confusion between Alou and White out there in the left center field gap.
Oh, was that some good hitting, too?
Ball rolls all the way to the wall. Here's where the confusion starts. Alou goes right by it. Now Devon White has to come over, and that little instant was all Ryan Klesko needed to scoot on over to third. Never slowed down. He picked that up immediately.
Throw a little wide of the bag, and he's able to go in head first. Good hustle. And now let's see if the Braves can get him home. The Marlins infielders will play in for Lemke, who hit the ball sharply his first time up, but a ground ball to short. In the air to right. Sheffield comes in. It's shallow. Klesko's going to try it. Here comes the throw. It's up the first base line, and he scores standing up 2-0 Atlanta. A sacrifice fly for Mark Lemke, his 24th RBI of the year, and some good base running by Ryan Klesko. And it's 2-0.
A lot of other right fielders with nobody out and a runner at third, he wouldn't even try this on. But Gary Sheffield, not known for his throwing arm. He's got great power. He gets to most balls in right, but his throwing arm only average at best. Didn't get much on it. Didn't get much accuracy on it.
Nothing like hitting a triple and having the next pitch. When you're at third base, you have to tag up and hustle home. Denny Nagel takes ball one. For Ryan Klesko, he has now set a career high in triples. He's got 5. Up the middle. Renteria waits and guns him out. 2 down. Ryan hit a good pitch down and away. And Kenny Lofton takes his time to give Nagel a chance to get back to the dugout. Kenny has walked and struck out. A lot of people were talking about that play at the plate last night, Pete. I still haven't found anyone that's ever heard of a runner being called out at home plate on a tag play like that for running out of the baseline.
Apparently the call was made. I asked Bobby about it after the game last night. The call was made by Larry Vanover because of where Kenny Lofton ran out of the baseline. You get around home plate, that whole area around there, they're very seldom going to call you out if you tiptoe around. But watch where Kenny Lofton is. He stops, and then he's not even toward home plate yet. He's not even toward the batter's box area yet when he runs out of the baseline. If he had gotten into the batter's box and done that, probably wouldn't have gotten called out. But that far up the line, Bobby said it was not a bad call.
Huh. The one thing that I kept looking at on that play, though, is when he first hit the dirt, when he dodged the tag, was that his arms landed in the right-handed batter's box. And then he scrambled to the plate. But again, I've never seen it called. 2-2. Leiter might have gotten away with one on that last pitch. Left it upstairs a little bit. Fastball got him looking on the corner again. That's 6 strikeouts for Leiter, but the Braves add to their lead. They get an RBI for Mark Lemke. And we go to the bottom of the 5th. Don Sutton and Skip Carey headed over here. It's 2-0 Braves.
The 5th inning, the Braves have been out hit by the Florida Marlins 3-2. But in the category that counts, the Braves lead at 2-0, and it's either disco night or everybody's doing the fish night or something.
It's their new song. Everybody do the fish. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They play it over 175 times. It's really nice.
Very creative lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2-0, big boy.
Yes, it is. And Al Leiter will lead off the bottom half of the 5th inning. Thank you very much, Don. Boy, I wish I got an Aflac trivia question named after me sometime.
I'll come up with one for you.
I bet you will. Denny Nagel ready to go to work. Pop foul back and out of play. 0-1. Leiter, a strikeout victim, called out his first time. 2-0 Atlanta, our score. Nagel trying to stop the bleeding here after 2 tough losses in Miami. Right in there. 0-2 the count. He got out of a bases loaded spot in the first. Couple men on with 2 out in the 3rd.
It's been one of those every other inning things.
1-2 the count on Leiter, who came into the game hitting .091. Just missed. 2-2. A Javi Lopez homer and a triple by Ryan Klesko, the only 2 Braves hits. Lemke sacrifice fly got Klesko home, and Leiter strikes out. That's the first out in the bottom of the 5th. Strikeout number 4 for Nagel. Devon White, the batter, has popped to second, fly to right. He got the big hit to tie the game last night. Statistically, White a better hitter from the left side than he is from this, the right. Upstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Well, the Cubs won today after 9 straight losses. Dimitri Young, the odd man out in St. Louis, they sent him to Louisville. Called up an outfielder because of the acquisition of Mark McGuire. Young had been playing first base for St. Louis.
And wasn't doing a bad job
No.
there. Defensively doing a pretty good job, but too many bodies at one position. He was hitting about 260.
The 2-0 pitch. It's high, and it's 3-0 to the leadoff man.
Strange night for Denny Nagel. He has walked a couple. He's been behind. He came into this ball game with no walks in about 14 innings.
That's right in there. It's 3-1. The Fraziers from Brunswick, Georgia here rooting for the Braves tonight. The 3-1 pitch to Devon White. Right in there again. Full count now, 3-2. High fly ball into right field. Pretty well hit, but Andrews there back a few steps. 2 out.
That's pitching to take the short part of the ballpark out of play in a situation where you know you got to throw a strike. Go to the outer half of the plate, let him put it in play.
It's good to have a 2-run lead on this Florida team. In 1-run games, they have the best record in the major league.
Fattening that record up a little bit the last 2 nights.
Renteria waits and takes, and that's a strike. There's those 1-run wins for the Marlins. Oh, and 2 the count. We have graphics to fit every occasion here.
Usually when that happens, you know your bullpen has had a good year.
Still 0-2. This Renteria has done a good job for this ball club. Meanwhile, their former center fielder, Chucky Carr, is getting a lot of playing time and doing quite well at Houston, where they're playing good baseball. They got a 3-hitter from Mike Hampton today. Hit hard, but fouled to right.
I think Chucky Carr, as he wanted to be known when he was down here, was acting like an all-star down here before he had earned his credentials, and I think a couple of reality lessons may have helped him along the way. He is playing now like everybody thought he was capable of playing.
The 1-2. Got him with a breaking ball. Good pitch. Renteria was fooled. Looked bad on that one, and the inning is over. 5 strikeouts for Nagel. 1, 2, 3, nothing doing. 5 innings have gone by, and the Braves lead 2-0.
Before we begin the 6th, let's run through our Budweiser game summary. It's been almost all pitching. Nagel with 5 innings, walked 2, struck out 5. Leiter has pitched well, but Javi Lopez has hit a solo homer. Ryan Klesko hustled a triple, and Mark Lemke brought him home with a sac fly. Not a whole lot going on in our Budweiser game summary.
Jeff Blauser shortens to bunt, takes it inside. I don't know, but what they're going to have to get him out of the number 2 spot. I don't know if that's what's caused it, but since he's been there, he's really been in a slide. He's 2 for his last 30.
I'm not sure if Joe talked about it when he was on the air, but I overheard him talking to Jeff Blauser about, and Joe knows a lot about hitting, talking about how he is a different hitter in the 2 spot than he was before.
Swings late at that one. It's 1-2. He's a more defensive hitter.
Yeah, before, and Joe was telling me, you were attacking the ball out in front. You were lining the ball to left, lining it to left center. But now it seems like it's almost a lag swing, a self-defense swing, protect the runner swing. And I think
late there, and he fouled it back.
I think with 2 strikes, that's okay there because you're just trying to keep it a pitcher's pitch out of the catcher's mitt. But consciously or subconsciously, it seems like there's something for Jeff in the 2 spot that I must hit the right and right center.
Inside, almost hit him. 2-2.
How many times did we see him when he was leading off take that pitch maybe on the inside corner and hit it about a foot or 2 out in front of the plate? Now it's an inside out swing trying to push it in the right field.
Strike 3 called. Fastball at the knees, inside corner. He didn't like it. 1 is out. That's 7 strikeouts tonight and 34 in the 3 games in this series for Atlanta batters.
I'm not sure I blame him not liking this one. Part of the fact that it looks bad is that Charles Johnson, who is a good catcher, did a poor job of handling that. You're not going to get your pitcher a whole lot of call strikes when your move is to take it further away from the strike zone. You want to catch those coming toward the strike zone.
Chipper's 0 for 1 with a walk. That's high and away. 1 ball, no strikes. The pitch did look down and in. One and 1 the count.
Leiter's high in strikeouts is 11, and he's done it 4 times, the last time against Cincinnati.
That's the same pitch that was called a strike on Blauser. This time it's a ball. 2-1. Three and 1.
I can see calling a fastball a ball in there because probably it is, but when you catch a breaking ball in the same spot, that has to have gotten some of the plate.
Up the middle, base hit. So Chipper is aboard with 1 out. And Fred McGriff, the batter, he's due. He's struck out twice in this game. Montreal leading the Padres 1-0 there in the 4th. Seattle 3 in the 1st at Milwaukee. The Brewers now batting.
Starting a game tonight, left-handers were hitting 200 against Leiter. Braves are 1 out of 5. That's 200 right on the nose.
I'm sorry, but I think that's a bad play. I bet it seems to me you would have more mistakes with that play than you would get pickups.
Well, you're asking a first baseman to break. You're asking a pitcher to hit a first baseman on the move. He's got to try to catch the ball and tag a guy out. The only reason you can be doing that would be trying to befuddle the runner. You can't be trying to pick people off. I understand, though, when they started it, it worked a lot for him, then everybody caught on to it.
That throw very nearly eluded Conine, but did not. Strike to McGriff again. 1-1. That's like my old pal Chuck Tanner's bunt play with runners at first and second, or first and third rather, where he bunted, and if the third baseman didn't charge quickly, the runner was supposed to break for the plate. If he did charge quickly, he would stop and go back to third, and it would be an infield hit. When you explained it on paper, it worked to perfection, but it never worked in real life. The 1-1 pitch. Pop foul back. He's in the hole. 1-2.
Right there, though, was where that move did work, because just as Leiter started up, Conine broke to the bag. Chipper Jones was going, but when Conine broke, he stopped. So it works better for what you can do with it rather than what they really do with it. The threat of using it is probably more effective than the play itself. Should not be allowed to call time that far into the delivery.
But when Conine breaks back toward the bag and then they come to the plate, boy, they leave a lot of hitting
Yes,
room
they
on
do.
the right side. So that's another gamble. That's not. Fred's got the hat trick. He was 3 of 9 against Leiter coming into this game. 34 strikeouts in 3 games in this series. 41,643, another sellout with about 3,000 or 4,000 empty seats. Their 9th sellout of the year. Andrew Jones bats for the runner at first, 2 out. Well, maybe Andrew can yank one here on a 2-0 pitch. The 2-0 pitch. Pop foul back and into the seats. He had a good cut. He's upset with himself. He had a pitch to hit. 2-1. The Braves came into tonight with only 1 extra base hit in the first 2 games of this series. They have 2 tonight. The Lopez homer, the Klesko triple, and they have accounted for the 2 Atlanta runs. Two balls and a strike. That's sharply hit, but foul. It's 2-2.
Outside of Fernandez and Helling, this ball club doesn't give up a whole lot of home runs from their starting pitcher. That was the 10th allowed by Leiter.
Full count, 3-2. Jones will run from first.
Kevin Brown doesn't give up many.
Way out in front on that one. Still 3-2. Baltimore hammered Oakland today, 13-3. We'll have the Delta scoreboard bring you up to date on all the other baseball in about an inning. The 3-2, 2-out pitch. Popped up. Bonilla coming over. Let's see if he has room. He does, but can't make the catch. He should have had that ball, but it'll be a no play, I imagine.
I think he may have gotten distracted by a fan here. Watch as he goes feeling for the railing as he leans in. There's a guy there with a hot dog wrapper right in front of him. Or is that a hat? But you'll see something white flash right there in front of him as he reaches in. And he almost caught the hat. I guarantee you that was a distraction.
But it didn't interrupt anybody's dinner. And another 3-2 pitch. Inside. Walked him. So 2 are on with 2 out. That is the 3rd walk of the night for Leiter in the first since the first inning. And here's Javi Lopez, who has hit a long home run and flied to center.
Leiter's the kind of pitcher that has to make good pitches to Javi Lopez. He's a slider fastball pitcher. Pitches effectively down, but if he leaves it in the middle of the plate, that speed, that one-dimensional speed is one that Javi Lopez jumps all over.
Braves with a chance here to do some 2-out damage. Strike called inside corner, 0-1. Ryan Klesko on deck. Pretty good speed at second base. Devon White has the best outfield arm of this three. In fact, none of them really throw well, do they?
No, everybody takes liberties on this outfield. Well, you saw the Braves do it with Plesko on about 185-foot fly ball to Sheffield.
Oh, that didn't miss by much. 1-1. Javi had been 0 for 14 till he's blasted that long home run. Now Johnson and Leiter either are confused about the signs or confused about what they want to do with Javi Lopez.
Sometimes guys at second will take a lead where they will take the first step with their right foot. Then the next time they'll slide it over with their left foot, or they'll take a lead with one hand down or both hands down. And anytime there's a change, if you're standing in the middle of the diamond, you're the pitcher, you look back and you see a different lead off, you wonder if they have your signs.
And a lot of times the runner just does that to put it in the mind of the pitcher.
Exactly. It's one more thing to think about.
The 1-1. Broken bat tapped to short. That'll end the inning. He's going to have to go to first in time. He started to go to second, Renteria did, but he saw that Andrew was already there. But he makes the play to first without any problem. Braves leave a couple more. 1 hit. No runs, no errors. 2 left. Bottom of the 6th. 2-0 Atlanta.
And it's not even a full moon. Bottom of the 6th inning. Let me remind you that tomorrow night the NFL is on TNT. Jeff George leads the Oakland Raiders into Texas Stadium, where they will face the Dallas Cowboys. Vern Lundquist, Pat Hayden, and Mark May will have all the action tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as the NFL is once again on TNT.
So big day of sports on the Turner Properties. Braves baseball at 4:30 and the football game at 8 o'clock.
By the way, on TNT, too, they're doing a series on, I love old Westerns, and they're doing a series on some of the old Westerns. I know they ran it today at noon. They ran it last weekend. So if you like old Westerns, check your TV guide. It's a great series that they're doing.
Yeah, the Magnificent Seven on last night. Well, that's one of the all-time.
Isn't that a great one? Gary
Sheffield leads it off. Sheffield, Bonilla, and Alou will be the first 3 here, the heart of the order. Tough inning for Denny Nagel, who has pitched very well here to this point. Each team has 3 hits. Braves have the only 2 runs. Boy, he has hit some ropes tonight, but a lot of them have been foul. He is, however, 2 out of 2. And is 10 out of 26 in his career against Denny Nagel.
Almost a reverse of what the Braves put on against Bobby Bonilla. Jeff Blauser is playing between short and third, and Chipper Jones only 1 step off the line. That's a shift to the left side.
It's obvious that they think Sheffield will hit the ball to the off field on the ground, or they swing Lemke over. They don't do that. But Chipper has been playing since the first inning as if it was the 8th with Sheffield hitting.
Trying to protect against the extra base.
High fly ball. Did he get enough? Plesko on the track has room. Off the track. Makes the catch. 1 out. He just missed that little darling. 1 out. And Bobby Bonilla, the batter, a single and a walk. There's those flyouts again for Nagel.
But remember, we talked to him about that. He's not surprised. He says he takes whatever he gets on a particular night, and he considers himself more of a fly ball pitcher than a ground ball pitcher.
Outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Well, if he keeps this up and we can get him on after the game, we'll find out what movie he watched today, get another review.
What pasta he had for lunch.
Right off the end of the bat.
I guess we ought to consider him a fly ball pitcher too now, huh?
Yeah. 219 fly ball outs, most in the National League, according to our crack statistician Phil Sivens. Pop foul back again.
Phil, does Kevin Brown lead the National League in groundouts? So in this series, you've seen the best at the 2 extreme ways of pitching.
1-2, the count to Bonilla. Had a good cut there, but fouled it back. Moises Alou is on deck. That's outside. Say, you'll find the largest collection of Braves merchandise anywhere at the Braves clubhouse stores at North Point Mall in Alpharetta and at CNN Center. They outfitted the Braves, and they can do the same for you. The pitch to Bonilla. Scorched into right field. Andrew Jones is back, though. They built the park big enough. 2 out. Here's Alou. He has walked and lined hard to third. He did that with a couple of runners aboard in the third. Jeff Conine moves on deck. You got to go through these big bombers at least one more time in this game.
And the Braves bullpen would like to see Denny Nagel do it.
Oh, you bet. In fact, they're talking the worst case scenario tonight, if we would, for example, go to extra innings and use the bullpen a lot again, as we did last night. They would use Kevin Millwood in the bullpen, and Tom Glavine could pitch tomorrow if he had to. He is scheduled to wait until Tuesday. John Smoltz pitching Monday in Pittsburgh. Ground ball to third. Chipper's got it. Strong throw, and the inning is over, and Nagel breezes, and he is set down 10 in a row. At the end of 6, Braves on top 2-0.
Once, sailing from east to west.
Flied to center. He has tripled and scored. And he just missed that one. A high pop. He had a good swing. Conine comes on in fair territory, puts it away. 1 pitch, 1 out. So Klesko is retired, and Mark Lemke will be the batter. He's driven in his 24th run with a sacrifice fly. He's 0 for 1.
Leiter did something there that almost cost the Braves Chipper Jones in Philadelphia. You like to see your pitcher be aware of where the ball is and then kind of get in the neighborhood and direct traffic. You see a lot of pitchers do what he did. He headed for the third baseline to get the heck out of the way, but you need to be a traffic cop on those kind of pop-ups.
Outside to Lemke. 1 ball, no strikes. No activity in the Atlanta bullpen, so Nagel will hit for himself next, though he is not yet in the on-deck circle. 1-1 the count. Boy, this crowd is quiet now.
Quite a contrast to last night.
Let's keep them that way. 1-2 now. 34 strikeouts in 3 games here for Atlanta. Yet they lead tonight 2-0. It's even now, 2-2. Little tapper to third, right through Bonilla. Lemke around first. He'll hold on there. That is a boot. Right through the wicket.
He expected it to come up, and it didn't. I'll take a look at the replay. Be interesting to see if it hit the back of the grass, and I think it did. Gave it a little overspin, and it just skids on him. See his glove about 6 inches over the glove. He was playing the second hop as though it were going to be the same height as the first.
His 14th error of the year. He leads their team in that department. Renteria has 13. Nagel bunts. A pop fly caught by Conine. 2 out. So the attempted sacrifice did not work. There are 2 out. And Kenny Lofton is the batter.
We watch these Braves pitchers over the last few years, and it gets to the point where you're surprised when they don't get the bunt down. They're that good at it, and Nagel one of the best. But that time he violated a cardinal rule. You get your bat out there, but don't bunt it anything above where your bat is when you start. And Denny Nagel did.
That was a perfect pitch from Leiter, too. A high fastball. That's going to get you a lot of pop flies. So runner at first and 2 out. Kenny Lofton has walked and has struck out twice and doesn't get that one. He came into this game 5 out of 16 against Leiter, but he's 0 for 2 tonight.
Looks like he's been guessing outside when he's gotten inside pitches and guessing inside when Leiter's gone away.
Didn't miss by much there, did he? 1-1 the count. That one was up there at 93 miles an hour, according to the scoreboard here.
He was throwing that in the first inning, so he hasn't lost any of his velocity.
Fouled it away. 1-2. In the bottom half of the inning, Conan, Johnson, and Abbott, the lower end of the order, up there for Florida.
You know, one thing Leiter does that I'm not sure he knows he does, the speed of his fastball will vary 3 or 4 miles an hour. That's good.
2-2 the count.
Because it's like almost like having a changeup that you don't know about. You throw a 91 mile an hour fastball, then it's 94, then it's 92, then it's 94.
He definitely has his own idea about what he wants to throw. Fly ball into left field, pretty well hit. Alou goes back to the wall. At the wall, that ball is off the wall. A run will score, and Lofton heads for third, and he will make it standing up with a triple. I think Alou thought that ball was out of here. He went to the wall and didn't play the ball off the wall, and that allowed a run to score.
I think he got caught in no man's land where he first thought he could catch it, then he thought it was out. We've seen Kenny Lofton do that a number of times, drive it hard. See, he thinks he's got it there, and now that he doesn't see he doesn't have it, he's got no chance. The ball hit him in the back when it comes off. Watch to see if it doesn't hit his right shoulder.
Sure did.
Right off of him. By that time, he is out of this play.
And right there, while that ball's rolling away, is all that allowed Lemke to get around third base and score. Larry Rothschild to the mound. And activity in the bullpen. The left-hander is Felix Heredia. I cannot see who the right-hander is, but we'll let you know in a minute.
Rothschild's one of those pitching coaches that's very low-key, very quiet, very observant. A guy that you don't even know he's here, but you see results because of his being here. Stays very much in the shadows, but is very thorough.
Sorry, Don. Rob Stanifer is in the bullpen. Here's Jeff Blauser. It's 3-0 Atlanta. Jeff 0 for 3 is grounded to short, grounded to third, struck out, called, and has averaged down to 317. Strike called on that inside corner again. On July 14th, Blauser was hitting .344. So in the last 2+ weeks, he has really struggled. Had a good cut there, but he fouled it back. He's in the hole 0-2. Runner at third, 2 out, a run in. It's unearned, but the Braves will take it. Look out, up and in. Little chin music there, 1-2. Blauser has never had a hit against Al Leiter, 0 for 8. Line drive left field, right at Alou. He battles the lights, makes the catch. That's when you're going bad, even when you hit it on the nose. It's right at somebody. But the Braves get a run on a hit in an air and leave one, and we go to the bottom of the 7th. It's 3-0 Atlanta. High pop out of play. They would probably play Sunday evening games if they could, but because of the ESPN game of the week, they are not allowed to do that, I'm told. So even though it's right in the height of the rainy part of the day, they try to get them in at 4:30. The 2-2 pitch. Foul back again, still 2-2. Charles Johnson is on deck. Toronto 5-1 over Detroit after 5.
Wonder if Cruz Jr. got another one.
Oh, that deal has got everybody still buzzing. The 2-2 pitch. Pop, but it'll reach the seats. Still 2-2. And so does Jerry Reinsdorf, in effect telling his fans, don't come to our park because we can't win.
I'm still amazed at that statement.
The 2-2 pitch. Got him with a breaking ball. Conine is out of there. And Nagel is rolling merrily along. To this point, that's 6 strikeouts. He's got 8 more outs to get. Charles Johnson, the batter. Johnson's wife did a great job on the national anthem tonight, by the way. He's 0 for 2. Fouled back, 0-1. He had a good swing. Well, that's all right. Braves will take the strike. Don't forget the Marlins come to town next weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I believe. A ball and a strike. Yeah, the Cardinals are in town Wednesday and Thursday nights. Then the Marlins and the Pirates. Over the inside corner. 1-2 now. Braves have 2 triples tonight. Second time this year they've done that. The other time was in April against the Reds. That one bounced up there. No doubt about that. That's not what Nagel wanted to do. That's just a wasted pitch.
Yeah, usually that's a good pitch to throw 0-2, but 1-2, you'd like to get him out on a 1-2 pitch.
Or even if you miss with it, have it close enough that he might chase it. But he hasn't made many mistakes tonight, that's for sure. Into the corner. Made one there, a high breaking ball. Johnson will pull in at second base with a double. With 1 out. Kurt Abbott, the batter.
Johnson hit like this all of July, hit .364. He had 7 doubles, and he didn't miss any mistakes. And he got one there that was up about letter high. Hit it into the corner. And for Johnson, that's his 21st double of the year. Everything he does offensively from here on out sets new career highs, personal highs for him.
Can you think of any catcher in the American League that's better defensively than he is?
No, you made the statement over, or maybe when we just got over here, over on radio, about how good he is, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And I watch a lot of American League baseball on the satellite. I can't think of anybody.
Kurt Abbott, that ball is hung up there, but Lofton's going to get to it. It was really sucked. Then he got that pitch up, too. And I know Bobby Cox is taking note of that. 2 out in the inning, and Alex Arias is on deck. Let's see if he's going to hit.
I know.
They announce him now.
Probably a lot of American League fans will say Pudge Rodriguez with Texas, but I think one of the reasons people think he is a better catcher than he is because he is such a good offensive player. I was reading a list recently in one of the papers about the top 10 catchers of all time. The first line in every one of them was hit .316 for his career, hit .308 for his career. So the first line, when they're talking about best catchers, was about what they were hitting. There's more to it than that, and I think Charles Johnson is going to end up being a complete package.
Arias takes downstairs. 1 ball, no strikes.
I think the first time we saw him, we were talking about it. To me, and I was a Yankee fan in the 50s, every day I see him, his actions, the way he plays, he reminds me more and more of Elston Howard. That's as good a compliment as I could give a catcher.
The 1-0 pitch. That's right in there. It's 1-1. Arias at .298, 9 out of 17 as a pinch hitter with a homer and 4 RBI. This guy's carved out a nice little career down here in Miami. And that average you saw about pinch hitters is a source of concern to the Braves.
He came over to the dugout where I was sitting yesterday and introduced himself and said, I just want to say hello and wish you well. We had a premature daughter, too. born about 8 weeks early, and their daughter is doing well, and for that we're grateful.
High pop foul back and out of play. A certain young lady I know just hit the 10-pound mark tonight, huh?
Yep.
Way to go.
Milestone.
Way to go, Jackie. Runner at second, 2 out. Full count on Arias, 3-2. Devon White is next. If he gets on, of course, a potential tying run comes to the plate. Chad Fox and Alan Embry in the Atlanta bullpen. And as you know, Embry, the left-hander. The payoff pitch with a runner at second and 2 out. Here we go. Just missed a double. All of a sudden, they're beginning to hit the ball much more sharply against Denny Nagel. After he struck out Conine to start this inning, a vicious double by Johnson. And Abbott lined out, and both pitches were up in the strike zone. He's pitched a great game, but he might be losing it here. We talked about the heat and humidity, and it could be taking its toll.
Remember, in the first 5 innings, too, he was having more pitches swung at and missed. More contact being made the last 2.
3-2. Got him. Boy, threw him that Tom Glavine fastball over the inside corner. Arias was leaning out over the plate, and his 7th strikeout of the night gets him out of a little bit of trouble in the 7th. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, 1 left. We go to the 8th, 3-0 Atlanta.
Scoreboard, Cincinnati got homers from Taubensee, Green, and Sanders to win that one. Pittsburgh nipped Colorado. Shutout pitching by Hampton, a home run for Bagwell for Houston. 2-1, a win for Stottlemyre over Philadelphia. Chicago finally won one with a pair of homers from Ryan Sandberg. And Montreal has taken an early lead over San Diego. Over in the American League, KC got 10, 5 home runs in that one. Chili Davis, it was his 315th homer, 3rd among switch hitters with home runs now. Minnesota by 1 over New York. Paul Molitor homered in that one. Baltimore pounded Oakland. Bordick, Hoyles, and Anderson all homered. Messina won his 12th. Toronto has taken a 5-1 lead over Detroit. Seattle an early lead over Milwaukee. Jeff Fassero on the mound for Seattle. Cleveland with 1 in the 2nd. That's all the scoring at Texas. And Chicago is at Anaheim. That coming up a little bit later on. There is your Delta scoreboard.
Felix Heredia on the pitch. Charles Johnson out for a word with him. You know, down the last couple nights, I spent some time with some scouts. I'm not going to mention any names, but just talking baseball. And one of the interesting things they brought up about some of the problems Mark Wohlers has had this year is that early in the year, Mike Bilecki was his setup man and did a good job, but he's a similar style pitcher, throwing fastballs as his big pitch in the past. First Heredia to Chipper Jones. Check swing strike 0-1. You had Greg McMichael out there as the setup man most of the time, and his big pitch was the change of pace.
A lot of variety there.
Yeah, and all of a sudden after that for an inning or two, here comes Wohlers at 97, 98 miles an hour.
Good thought.
Yeah, I had never really considered that before, but it does make some sense. By the way, I think that's Chad Fox in our bullpen. And Rob Stanifer is in theirs. That is Fox for the Braves. 2-1 the count to Chipper. He has walked, struck out, and singled.
What would be nice if you were the Braves is if you could have Bilecki for the 7th and a lefty for the 8th. A little variety that would help Bilecki, it would help the lefty, and it would help Mark Wohlers.
3 balls and a strike. Well, Alan Embry's been pitching better. He got hurt last night on a blue pit, but it really wasn't, you know, it's just one of those things.
He appears so much more confident now than he did when he first got here, and certainly a lot more confident than he was in an Indians uniform.
Full count on Chipper, 3-2. He said he didn't really have a throwing program over there like the Braves have.
Did that surprise you that I know everybody has one for starters? It surprises me that more don't have a plan for relievers.
Still 3-2 on Jones.
So you cannot let a reliever just sit around for 4 or 5 days and then have him come into a ball game and expect him to do well.
Look at the problems Paul Byrd had, even though he was on a throwing program. not getting to pitch in games enough. He goes down and gets some innings and comes back and shoots lights out. A good start to the 8th inning for Atlanta. Heredia breaks into the game with a walk. Leiter won 7 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, 1 home run. Here's Fred, who's glad to see Leiter out of there. He had 3 strikeouts against him. McGriff now with 69 strikeouts on the year. Michael Tucker has 89, Klesko 93 to lead the club in that dubious category. The pitch to Fred. Had a good cut, and he fouls it back into the seats. It's 0-1.
Fred normally handles left-handers well, but I think Heredia is a left-hander that would give most left-handers trouble. Got long arms, a little pretty animated delivery, a lot of movement. Never down in. He comes out of second base, so you could get a happy front foot against a guy like him.
0-2 the count. Happy front foot makes me think of all that disco conversation we were having over on radio, but maybe we'll save that for another day. 0-2 the count.
Give us another career.
We've been close to that more than once. The 0-2 pitch to first, runner back.
I wonder if they ever pick anybody off on that play. I know what they do is as soon as Conine breaks back, the runner almost always has to follow. So they probably cause more guys to stop than they ever pick off.
The biorhythms aren't right for McGriff tonight. That's his 4th straight strikeout, 3 of them swinging. And Andrew Jones, the batter. And here comes Jim Leland, and that's going to be all for Heredia, I would think. And Rob Stanifer will get the call from the bullpen. So Jim Leland makes a move as he makes the Bell South call to the bullpen. Struck out as many as 4 times in a game, and while Stanifer warms up, we can remind Braves fans that now you can purchase the 97 Pennant Fever package. It includes tickets for all Braves home games in Turner Field from July 28th, which is past, to the end of the season. You'll be guaranteed seats for all postseason home games, including the World Series. If we're there, Pennant Fever packages start at $715 a seat. Seating is limited. 404-577-9100. The number 404-577-9100. 1 on, 1 out. Chipper edges away at first. Now Conine holds him on the regular way. Maybe they just do that with a left-hander out there. Have to check tomorrow. One ball, no strikes. 3-4-0 for the Braves. 0-4-1 for Florida. The 1-1, a big wild swing. Andrews in one of those ruts where he's really trying to whack everything. As a result, he's 7 of his last 47. And his average has plummeted to 258.
Chasing a lot of off-speed pitches out of the strike zone.
Fastball missed outside. 2 balls, 1 strike. Javi Lopez is next. No activity in the Marlin bullpen now. Fox continues to throw for Atlanta. Nagel may be through for the night, or it may be that they would pinch hit for him if they get that far in the order. We shall soon see. The 2-1 pitch. He shortened a bunt. It's 3-1. So Stanifer gets himself in a little trouble.
I think you wouldn't mind seeing Andrew Jones bunt leading off an inning, or maybe with 2 outs to get something going. But here with a runner at first, you'd like to see him hit one in the gap.
Runner goes right off the end of the bat, foul. Stanifer out of Easley, South Carolina. He's out of Anderson College in North Carolina, has a degree in sports administration. He's on a fast track. Time is called now. Another dork has thrown a beach ball on the field. They deflate the beach balls. It's a shame they can't do it to the people. The 3-2 pitch struck him out on a terrible pitch. Foot outside. Here's Javi.
There's that breaking ball out of the strike zone. Good slider. Down and away. Right over the top of it. Right out in front of it. And Chipper Jones was staying at home on that one, too. Stayed out of the strike him out, throw him out, double play.
Stanifer's on a fast track here. He just signed in '94. Last year was with Brevard County and Cortland. So he's up here with very little AAA experience and all that this year.
So he jumped from Class A to AAA last year in 1 year. That's a pretty good move.
No, isn't Portland a AA club?
I think Portland's AAA, Coast League.
I was thinking it was Portland, Maine.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it isn't.
We shall find out shortly.
1 ball, no strikes, the count. I thought Charlotte was their AAA club. This Tommy
It's
Gregg
the
was
Portland, Maine Sea Dogs, and you are right, oh great one. It is AA.
The 1-0. Foul back.
Boy, do they have a great logo.
They do.
Got to get one of those caps.
There he's begging again, folks. 1-1 the count. Ground ball up the middle, does not hit very hard. Renteria gets there. Force play at second. And the inning is over. So nothing doing in the 8th for Atlanta. No hits, no runs, no errors. 1 runner left. Bottom of the 8th. The score is 3-0 Atlanta. Chad Fox on to pitch for Atlanta. Nagel has had it, I guess. 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Now 16 straight scoreless innings. He did his job. Now Chad will try to hold him right there, and then Wohlers will doubtless work the 9th. White, it bounces about 5 feet in front of home plate. 1 ball, no strikes.
This may be a little bit of what you were talking about earlier. A little bit of variety in between the starting pitcher and Mark Wohlers.
Fox works quickly. Fastball down and in. He didn't get it. Well, Nagel rose to the challenge tonight. Pitched himself a fine ball game. Took something off. It's 1-2. What's that movie the Cowboys about, Tom?
Well, it's John Wayne's got a bunch of kids, and they have to drive a bunch of cattle to market, and all of a sudden.
So then it's about cowboys, huh?
Yeah.
Hence the name. Did he go? He did. They'll have to throw him out. Fox gets his man, 1 away. 8th strikeout by Atlanta pitchers tonight.
Devon White likes the ball down and in when he's left-handed. The way to take care of a guy like that is start him something down and in and send it out of the strike zone. Almost always a guy who is a dead low ball hitter will have trouble laying off of that with 2 strikes. Good pitch.
Renteria, the batter, is 0 for 3. Hits have been in short supply tonight. Each team has 4. He missed that by a foot. 0-1. Chad Fox has been a most impressive pitcher up here. He gave up a run last night that really wasn't his fault. But he's done okay. Not on that pitch. He hung a curveball. It falls in front of Klesko for a hit. And there's danger here, Cherie. Here comes Gary Sheffield.
Hanging breaking ball. Renteria doesn't miss many of these. He has thrown about 6 great ones in the inning, but when you're going up against a club that's been hot, that's a hard one to get past a hitter.
Alan Embry continues to work in the bullpen. Sheffield's hit the ball hard all night long. 2 solid singles and a drive to the warning track in left. He had a home run here last night. He doesn't run well. He's got a bad leg if you can get a ground ball. Fastball away. 1 ball, no strikes. 3-0 Atlanta, our score. Pops away from Javi, no advance, and outside 2-0. They've got a writer down here. Now I can't think of the guy's name. It's Covet or something like that. For either the Miami Herald or the Fort Lauderdale paper. I think it's Miami. It was really funny. A stretch. And the pitch is right in there. It's 2-1 after last night's game. Yeah, Greg Cote. That's what it is. He described poor Larry Vanover, the home plate umpire, as a man who was obviously having. First the pitch. Line foul. He's hit another one hard. It's 2-2. What's the exact line? I better get it right or I'll get in trouble. Soon after that, Mr. Vanover, continuing to work like a man suffering a hemorrhoidal flare-up, picked a fight with Kurt Abbott. Umpires cannot win. That's the writer's words, not ours, of course. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Oh, he got away with 1 up that time, too. Still 2-2, but he changed speeds and had Sheffield off stride.
It is impossible for Chipper Jones to move any further toward the line and stay in fair territory. And one of the rules in baseball is that everybody but the catcher has to play in fair territory.
I don't like that rule.
Who would you like to move in foul?
Nobody, but I think if you want to, you should be able to. It's more big government. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Little tapper to short. 6, 4. That's all they can get. He didn't hit it quite hard enough, and he ran as hard as he could, and he's holding that left hamstring. And he's not faking. He's been hurt for about a month.
Yeah, and the folks here have been getting on him and really not appreciating the efforts. Perfect pitch by Fox. Here he's giving you all he's got. He's just glad they're not going to throw, but he is not well, but he continues to go to the post. Larry Starr, the trainer, is going to make his way out. He goes to the post. He is struggling, and this guy has had a complete 180-degree change in personality in the last couple of years down here. He's worked very hard at being a team player and not one who's going to alibi and try to take himself out of the ball game. And if they're going to win, they need him to hit, so he keeps going out there. And I don't think the people who watch him, they base their expectations on the numbers he's put up before, and they're not taking into account the fact that he's playing about 65%.
But then he does things to make thinking people angry, like when he blames the umpires for his problems.
Well, that was a stupid statement.
He's going to have to come out here.
One made out of frustration, though, one of the coaches told me, which doesn't justify it. It's just.
And we'll see who comes in to take his place. My guess would be John Cangelosi, but we'll wait and see. And that's who it's going to be. Cangelosi will run at first base. And Sheffield heads for the clubhouse on the ice. And here's Bonilla.
Have you ever had a hamstring injury?
I pulled one completely one day playing slow pitch softball.
His won't go away till December.
No.
Because as long as he's active and You don't know how long it takes to heal. Just when you think, okay, it's ready to go, you do all the little things, test it, then you make a sudden spurt, you're right back where you were.
And boy, those babies hurt.
Yes, feels like somebody stuck a knife in there.
Bonilla grounds it into right. The tying run will come to the plate. First and second, 2 out. He didn't hit it hard, but he hit it in a perfect spot, and here's Alou. He represents the tying run, and he has 14 home runs and 78 runs driven in. So a solid hit by Renteria and a ground ball perfectly placed by Bonilla. And the Braves are in the soup in the 8th, and Javi Lopez to the mound. Their bullpen has outdone our bullpen in this series. And that goes from the closers right on through the ranks. Now Lou stands in. They still have Jim Eisenreich and Darren Dalton and Greg Zahn and Craig Counsell, all left-hand hitters, Zahn being a pinch hitter, on their bench. Two on, 2 out. Breaking ball inside. 1 ball, no strikes. There's Darren Dalton. We'll see him before the night's over. I'll bet you. There's Jim Eisenreich. I'm going to see him too. The 1-0 pitch. It's even 1-1. Took a little off. Had him out in front. Alou tonight is 0 for 2 with a walk.
It's his slider, and it must have a tight spin on it, because you see a lot of hitters commit as though they're getting a low fastball to hit and then not be able to do anything with it. It's a late break. It's a break that goes down and away, which makes it all the more harder to handle.
2 balls and a strike. Conine is next. Help Bobby Cox manage this team, folks. Let's assume Alou walks. What do you want? Do you want Fox facing Eisenreich or Dalton? Or do you want Embry in the game? Three balls, 1 strike. Be careful here. This is one of those spots where the pitching coach comes out. He says, don't throw him anything good to hit, but throw a strike.
Since I am one of the fans, I would like to go lefty against lefty.
If you can.
If you can. If he makes the move to bring the left-hander off the bench with Conine. Dangerous pitch right here.
The 3-1. Swung, base hit left field. Chipper was on the line, and a run will score. And the throw wisely comes to third. Here come the Marlins. That time playing on the line cost Atlanta. If he's playing his normal position, that's an out.
He was guarding against the extra base hit. Cost him the single. Pretty good slider. But when you're protecting the line, there's a lot of real estate between the third baseman and the shortstop. No hesitation by Donnelly, and a wise play, as you pointed out, by Klesko, not making the throw to the plate. See how far away he is from this ball? 1 foot nearly on the line.
Here's Conine. He represents the go-ahead run. Outside. Fox behind every hitter now. 1 ball, no strikes.
Conine is a guy who in the past has had some good years and had some big hits. He is struggling this year, but for some reason a guy like that who's struggling gets caught up in the emotion. He's a guy who scares me on a time like this.
2 balls, no strikes. Fox is nowhere near the plate all of a sudden. He started the inning with a strikeout. And he's behind every hitter now, and that's asking for trouble.
And this guy's a good mistake hitter, and he's also a guy that's kind of made a National League career out of hitting against the Braves. Career somewhere in the neighborhood of 350.
Yeah, 350 coming into this year, and he had a hit last night.
So you got to be careful. You got to make some good pitches on him.
3-0, and somewhere along the line, you're going to have to go to your bullpen. Well, you've got Charles Johnson next. Does Jim Leyland roll the dice here with Conine?
Maybe. Because he is a good mistake hitter, maybe.
3-0. Strike. He was taking all the way. But he'll be swinging here if he gets one to his liking. Rob Nen is in the bullpen for the Marlins. Along with Dennis Cook. We've seen enough of him. Embry ready if needed in the Atlanta bullpen, but they're all right-hand hitters coming up to pitch. Swung, fly ball foul, full count, 3-2.
Stay away from inside. Conine is an inside hitter. That was a pitch out away from him, and front side flew open. I don't think he will do you any damage from center to right field, but take your chances if you're going to throw a strike out away from him.
3-2, runners go. Fouled away again. Conine with runners in scoring position is normally a very tough hitter, but not this year. He's had a bad year all the way around. Runners in scoring position, Conine's hitting 191. Runners in scoring position and 2 out, he's hitting 175. But none of that really matters if you make a mistake here. A walk puts the tying runs into scoring position. The 3-2 pitch. Runners go. He walked in and the bases are loaded. Here's Charles Johnson. He's 1 for 3, a double. That against Nagel. So Fox is allowed 3 hits and a walk. There are no right-handers in the Atlanta bullpen. Leo Mazzoni is on his way to the mound. Now a base hit to the outfield ties it. An extra base hit puts him in the lead. Johnson lined to third last night, hit the daylights out of the ball against Chad Fox. And he'll face him here with the bases loaded and 2 out. I know it's got nothing to do with the game, but you know what worries me here is all the leads the writers would have if Charles Johnson was the hero after his wife sang the national anthem today.
Yeah.
About the family plan and all that. Let's see how it works out. Embry just standing out there now.
He was their ace in these kind of situations in July. Hit 364.
Outside, 1 ball, no strikes. You're not going to get the close calls with so many bad pitches. A runner at every base. Bonilla, Alou, Conine. Nowhere near. 2 balls, no strikes. Now you've got to throw a strike. Kurt Abbott is on deck. He did throw a strike. I'm surprised he took it. 2-1.
Well, I'll tell you why I think he has become a more disciplined hitter. You saw him open up a little bit. He was looking for that one pitch in that one spot. We talk about it a lot. He didn't get it. He would have made it out on that pitch. That was a pitcher's strike.
2-2. High fastball.
That was his, and he missed it.
Braves bullpen 27 out of 36 in save situations. 3 of those blown saves have come against these Marlins. This is the pitch he wants to do business on. High. The old merry-go-round now, 3-2. Bobby Cox wanted that pitch but didn't get it. The 3-2 pitch. He walked him and a run is in. Can't argue about that one. It's 3-2.
I don't know how long you can leave Chad Fox out there.
That's 2 walks in a row.
sooner or later you got to throw this righty, lefty stuff out the window. You got a guy not throwing strikes. Take your chances, although you got a lefty against a righty.
That's what Jim Leland is saying. Well, this guy's struggling. I know I've got all these good left-hand hitters, but as long as he's struggling, why should I change that?
Well, you know he's going to go to the
That's
lefty
right.
if he changes there. He's got to like his odds better.
Abbott doesn't get it 0-1, but 2 runs have scored. It's a 3-2 game. The second he sends Dalton or Eisenreich out, he gets Embry, and he'd rather have this matchup with Chad Fox experiencing the difficulties he's experiencing, and brother, he is experiencing difficulty. The 0-1 pitch. Strike 2 call. Cather can't pitch tonight. They save Wohlers for the 9th. The stretch. Strike 3 called, and the inning is over. Abbott is called out on strikes. He argues about it. The inning is finally over, but not before the Marlins get right back into the game, and they do it with 3 hits, 2 runs. No errors and 3 big runners left. We go to the 9th, 3-2 Atlanta. We go to the 9th inning. Anybody's game, but the Braves cling to the lead. John Cangelosi stays in the game to play left field. That sends Moises Alou from left to right. Gary Sheffield had to leave with hamstring problems. And Dennis Cook, who last night was the hero with the bat, now comes on to pitch. His base hit won the game for the Marlins in the 12th inning of last night. And here that is.
High breaking ball. Jumped all over it. He's a guy who hasn't taken batting practice in years, and he's had 4 at-bats, I think, in the last 3 years, and he's 4 for 4.
As a pitcher, he's 1-2, but with a 2.50 earned run average. The league hitting .229 against him, and he faces Ryan Klesko, Mark Lemke, and a pinch hitter for Chad Fox, I would think. Fox an inning, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. A very strange inning for him. Cook ready to go to work. Klesko has a big base hit in this game, a triple that wound up plating a run. One ball, no strikes. Cook, the 4th pitcher used. Mark Wohlers in the Atlanta bullpen. There's a strike on the outside corner. It's 1-1 looking ahead to the 9th inning. The scheduled hitters are the pitcher, White, and Renteria, but don't forget all those lefties on their bench. Fastball inside. 2 balls, 1 strike. Staniford did a good job, 2/3 of an inning, a strikeout. Their bullpen has pitched extremely well in this series. Two-1. Foul back, good cut. 2-2 the count.
He was at the University of Texas. You might see Pat Corrales get a little upset right here. It's a brand new baseball, and yeah, he is. What Dennis Cook does is kind of raise the seams of it a little bit. Nice shot, guys. Kind of get a little bit better grip on it. Pat just trying to give Eddie Montague a little assistance.
Just missed. 3-2. We could really use some insurance now. It's a 1-run ball game. and stays alive. Kevin Millwood and Alex Fernandez tomorrow afternoon at 4:30. And then we'll be with you at 7:30 on Monday and Tuesday from Pittsburgh. John Smoltz against Steve Cook, no relation. Tom Glavine against Jason Schmidt. And here comes Ed Montague, and I think he spotted something.
No, he's just raising the seams. That's what he's going to say. It's okay to rub it this way, but watch your thumbnails. Yeah, watch your thumbnails. And Pat and Dennis Cook having a little get-together over there. And here comes Jim Leland. Yep. Rubbing up the ball, but you can't do it with your thumbnail.
How were you able to spot that?
Well, I was just watching him very, very closely, and I was watching Pat Corrales. Pat usually stands there like that, but Pat was giving Eddie Montague some assistance. Uh-oh.
Much ado about nothing here. Do you ever send anybody do anything like that before?
Yes, I have. I sure have. Good. I saw it Flomaton, Alabama. It was back in one of those Sunday afternoon leagues. Smart things have one of your infielders do it.
Pat's so proud of himself he could burst out there right now.
That's not the first time Pat Corrales has spotted something like that and called it to an umpire's attention. I have heard.
Well, let's see if it made him mad. The 3-2 pitch. He walked him. So Klesko works a walk off Cook. Mark Lemke, the batter, studies intently the machinations of his third base coach, Bobby Dew. Now Leyland's all over the home plate umpire.
No, I think he's yelling at Pat Corrales. I really think that it's more Pat Corrales than Montague they're upset with.
The bunt is called foul, and it's a good thing it is. And now Cook argues with Tom Hellion, and if Jim Leyland doesn't get thrown out this time, I'll be shocked.
I will too. And I think he's got a legitimate argument here. He's got to go. He's going to go. This umpiring crew will be so glad to leave here and go someplace else. It's been under the gun. This is 3 straight nights of a lot of controversy and a lot of calls, some being reversed, but they've all 4 been under the gun the last 3 nights.
Ed Montague is now into this discussion too. Meanwhile, out on the mound, Wally Bell is talking it over with Cook. I don't know how he stayed in the game with this second long argument.
That's a carryover argument, and he must be phrasing his words very carefully, because there are some that are hasta la bye-bye. Well, I think what Tom Hallion's argument might be, he might have said that it hit the batter. If it didn't hit it,
I thought it was fair ball.
I think so. I got to go with Leland. If it did not hit Mark Lemke in the batter's box, he's got to write a book on the art of arguing. Take a look. Bounces out. Oh, my. I'd get kicked out on that one, too. That ball's a yard in fair territory.
I think he did get launched early on in that thing with Hallion. Hallion didn't give it a dramatic gesture, but he did throw him out, it looks like, because he's given up the lineup card. Anyway, the count's 0-1. I don't know why they'd be mad at Pat Corrales. That's pretty good gamesmanship, isn't it?
I think so, too. You're right. Gone.
That's a weak ejection call.
Oh, just a little heave-ho, though. That wasn't even a heave-ho. That was a you're gone.
Bye-bye. The 0-1. He bunted, and that hit the bat twice. It's 0-2. Danny Bautista is on deck. We've had some weird goings-on in this series, haven't we? But it's been fun.
This one is pretty evident. Down, up, off the bat. He was in the batter's box, so that's a strike.
Now Mark has no clue. He looked into the dugout that time to get a sign, looked like.
Jerry Manuel has the lineup card.
0-2 the count. Montague and Corrales continue to talk it over.
Pat's campaigning for a call for tomorrow afternoon. Lobbying a little early.
Just missed, low and away. A ball and 2 strikes. Well, Wohlers has had plenty of time to get ready for Atlanta. There's no doubt about that.
He has shown bunt, and what he has done when he has shown bunt is he's got the infield on the move. Abbott is heading toward first. Renteria is staying pretty close. If he turns him loose and lets him hit anything up the middle or right side, may get through.
He's swinging. He took that inside. That was close. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now they don't know what to do. Runner at first, nobody out. It's a 3-2 ball game in the 9th. Atlanta has the lead. Well hit into left field. Back goes Cangelosi. He's got it. Plesko turns and races back to first. Clark hit the daylights out of that ball, but not quite far enough. 1 out. And Bautista is announced here.
Got a pitch to Hanel. Got almost all of it. Down and in. Nice play by Cangelosi, who was playing in pretty shallow. What you wonder is, did he go past the bag and switch? Nope, he stopped just shy.
So a runner at first with 1 out. That ball was socked. And Bautista and Lofton will have a chance to do some damage.
Nothing but righties throwing in the Marlins bullpen, so
that's all they got left.
They're going to take their chances to try to get Bautista out, so they would rather have Cook face Bautista than one of the right-handers face Lofton.
And Keith Lockhart still on the Atlanta bench too. Fouled away. 0-1. It's such a farce when a manager gets kicked out of the game and he hands the lineup card over to somebody else. He's standing 5 feet behind Jerry Manuel, peeking out of the runway and still managing the team. He just can't come out and make pitching changes or flash the signs. That shadow back there is probably Leland.
Heck, I'd use walkie-talkies if I were the manager.
Yeah, but the other team may listen in. Upstairs. A ball and a strike.
Build a little intercom system into the bench. Go into your office, turn on the TV.
Uncork a jug and
probably make not so wise decisions.
The 1-1 pitch. He's running. Swung line, right center, base hit. Plesko around second, on his way to third. Alou has trouble coming up, but he does so now, and they're on the corners with 1 out. A big pinch hit for Danny Bautista on a hit-and-run play.
Seems like the more he plays, the more we see that he brings to the party. He covers some real estate. He's got a good arm, and this is a hit and run where he just takes one down and away with one hand. All you got to do is put it in play, and if you put it in play to the right side, you got a pretty good chance of getting a hit. That's another side of Danny Bautista that we've seen for the first time tonight.
Well, here's Kenny Lofton and a chance to do some serious damage. Lofton tripled off the left field wall earlier, driving in a run. Downstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Infield back, hopeful of getting a double play. Kenny does not run as well as normal because of his hip injury. Downstairs, Jeff Blauser on deck. 2 balls, no strikes. If they go to a right-hander in the bullpen, the way Jeff is struggling, Lockhart they might consider pinch hitting with him. We shall see. Line, base hit, a run is in. Bautista will stop at second. Well, I don't know if Pat Corrales had anything to do with it, but I do know that Cook has been hit hard here. Let's tip a hat to the Braves first base coach. He may have bothered his concentration a little bit. Jerry Manuel on his way to the mound.
Pitch out away from him. Nice easy swing by Lofton.
Boy, that's what
run.
That's what he does so well against left-handers. He knows his limitations. He doesn't try to pull the ball out of the ballpark. Just slap at it. Looks like they're going to go to Nen here already, so it's not a good night for Mr. Cook, and we'll be back right after this. Closer, Nen went an inning last night, striking out 2, and he got a save with an inning and a third Thursday night, striking out 2. So he's done all right in this series. He's had at times serious trouble against Atlanta.
There's less lobbying goes on in the halls of Congress than right there. Pat's working overtime, isn't he?
Yeah, he is working for tomorrow, and Cook is still steamed. I don't know if it's at himself or at Corrales or at...
Yes, probably.
May have to slip by the lounge tonight and talk to the troops, see what's happening here. 4-2 Atlanta, our score. There's a strike right in there. 0-1. Chipper Jones on deck. Jeff really struggling. 2 out of 32. But all would be forgiven with a base knock right here. One and one. I don't know how in the world Rob Nen throws strikes that way. His foot hits the ground twice as he throws.
A little tap dancing.
Yeah. He pitches like Hal Morris hits.
Yeah.
But boy, he can pitch. 1 and 2.
See, that's something you wouldn't teach, but it's also something you wouldn't change.
Oh, if you tried to change it now, you'd probably ruin it. It's like Stan Musial's batting stance.
Yeah, very few people could have ever hit peeking around the corner like he did.
1-2. Got him on strikes. Jeff's problems continue. He's 0 for 5 with a couple of strikeouts. It's up to Chipper. If the Braves are going to do any more damage here. You got to like your chances with this guy hitting. He's 5 out of 6 against Nen with a home run included. Fred McGriff is on deck. 4-2 Atlanta, our score. Wohler's ready to go in the Atlanta bullpen. John Wayne and the Cowboys are going to get to you a little late tonight, it would appear.
We may catch them already after the chuck wagon has joined them.
They're feeding the cattle now and moving to start as soon as the game's over. Strike called. It's 1-1. The Marlins have beaten the Braves 5 out of 6. All the way to the screen. The runners move up. That'll be a wild pitch. Now a base hit means 2 runs. 2 balls and a strike. Tell you what, though, with first base open and Jones hitting like he has against Nen, I wonder if they might just walk him.
Held on to that one just a little bit too long. You got McGriff standing there, and he's had a frustrating night. There are 2 ways to look at that. You can think maybe you can continue his frustrations, or the flip side of that is you got to be thinking, well, he's due. How's he done against Nen?
0 for 6, but they're going to pitch to Chipper.
If he gets anything in the middle of the strike zone, I'd be surprised.
2 balls and a strike. Three and 1. And you didn't have to be surprised. That was nowhere near.
Right now, you almost got to put him on.
The 3-1 pitch.
Go with the slider.
Full count, 3-2. Certainly didn't give in to it. More Braves have struck out tonight. That's 37 in the 3 games. Should end the inning. Nen will cover. There's the toss, and the inning is over. So out of all that, Atlanta got a very, very important insurance run. They did it on 2 hits. There were no errors, and 2 runners were left, and 1 manager was ejected. And we go to the bottom of the 9th. It's Wohler's time, and it's 4-2 Atlanta. He went an inning and a third, allowed 3 hits, struck out 2, but the first hit was a big one by Devon White. It tied the game. Jim Eisenreich has come out to pinch hit to start the bottom half of the 9th inning. You see that great strikeout ratio for Wohler. And we're about ready to go. Eisenreich, really a tough hitter.
And the guy that the Braves very much would have liked to have added to their roster over the winter, but the Marlins jumped right in front and gave him a 2-year contract for a pretty good chunk of money and kind of shot the Braves right out of the water.
Eisenreich 1 for 6 in his career against Mark Wohler. You saw his numbers on the air. Wohler's working off the stretch. Fast strike, a good way to start the 9th inning. They don't put up his speed of his pitch. The 0-1. Hit foul. It's 0-2. 98 miles an hour on the second one. They didn't clock the first one. I wish it was reversed and he was hitting 098 and he was throwing 273 miles an hour, but that's not the way it works. The 0-2 swung, grounded foul outside first.
Be another Sid Finch.
Yeah, good old Sid. 0-2 the count. In the other baseball, Kansas City beat Boston 10-3. Baltimore 13-3 over Oakland. Minnesota beat the Yankees 5-4. Detroit and Toronto 7-7 in the 8th. The 0-2 pitch about to be made. Upstairs, 1-2. In the 6th, Seattle all over Milwaukee, 13-0. In the 5th, Cleveland and Texas, 3-3. Chicago failed to score in the 1st at Anaheim. That's your American League action. The 1-2 from Wohlers. Got him. Splitter. Eisenreich out of there, one away. Here's Devon White, who singled against him last night and is 2 for 5 in his career.
Key pitch in that whole sequence was the fastball on the first pitch that he got for a strike. After that, anything in the neighborhood off speed. You got a gear for the fastball, which he did there, and Wohlers threw him a dandy split finger.
Devon White is the batter. White is 0 for 4.
White likes the first pitch. Remember, he likes it down and in. He jumped on that off Wohlers last night. Yeah.
Right through there. He didn't jump on that one. 0-1. In the National League, Cincinnati beat the Giants 5-1. Pirates beat the Rockies 6-5. Kid Helton out of Tennessee hit his first major league homer. He's playing while Galarraga serves a suspension. Houston 6-0 over the Mets. A 3-hitter for Mike Hampton. 1-1 the count. Cardinals beat the Phils 2-1. Montreal shut out San Diego 6-0. Cubs beat the Dodgers 5-1. That's all the other baseball up to the minute. Stottlemyre won for the Cardinals. Tomko got the win for the Reds. The 1-1 pitch. Here it is. Swung and missed. It's 1-2. Told you about Mike Hampton's 3-hitter. Jeff Bagwell's 29th home run of the year. 99 miles an hour on that pitch. Fox had a great graphic today that I didn't realize. Jeff Bagwell in the last 3 years has driven in more runs than either Ken Griffey Jr. or Barry Bonds. He struck him out. This is more like it. 2 out in the 9th.
Get the effect with the fastball, then follow it with that good forkball. A low ball hitter wants it down and in. You throw it there just a little bit further. Red Adams used to call that pitching him bad to his power.
Renteria, the batter, with Darren Dalton on deck. Carlos Perez, complete game shutout. 5-hitter tonight for Montreal. Kevin Tapani got the win. Ryan Sandberg announced his retirement, then hit 2 home runs today. No more excitement. Mark. 2-0 the count. Dalton is next, and he would represent the tying run. Renteria 1 for 3 against Wohlers in his career. Dalton 2 for 6. 3 balls, no strikes. Wohlers to the Rosenbach. Say this for the Marlins, they do not go away quietly. And they may not go away at all. There's a strike right through there. 3-1.
Well, they're used to this. More 1-run wins than anybody else in baseball.
But we lead by 2.
I know, but a walk here makes it a possible tie ball game.
3-2. I'm surprised he was swinging on that 3-1 pitch. Well, let's see if Mark can strike out the side. 11 Marlins have been out on strikes tonight. He lost him. Boy, that's frustrating. You just want to throw the ball down the middle and let him hit it as far as he can. Instead, you got Darren Daulton up there, a guy who with one swing can tie things up.
And the Braves are not going to hold Renteria on. They're going to open up the whole right side of the infield. And guard the line.
You see the numbers on Darren Daulton. He's never hit a home run against Woolers, unless he did in the playoffs, and I can't recall that, but not in a regular season game. Bonilla is next. 1 ball, no strikes. Daulton stands back in there. The outfield plays in very, very deep.